Awaken your spirit. Chosen ones. Truth has a way of showing up when lies have already made a mess of the floor. Some confessions hit like a punch you didn't see coming. They land, messy and undeniable, and leave you staring at someone you thought you knew, wondering how the person you trusted could operate in the shadows while wearing a mask of smiles and fake concern. Here's a fact that makes this even more unsettling. Studies show that people lie an average of 1 to 2 times per day, and a significant portion of these lies happen to protect themselves rather than to spare anyone else. That means the chances someone has been hiding the worst parts of their behavior from you are far higher than you'd like to admit. Suddenly, every friendly smile, every compliment, every "I got your back" moment is under inspection. When someone finally confesses to what they did behind your back, it's never just a simple "I messed up" moment. It's a psychological earthquake that shakes the foundation of how you see them, how you see yourself, and how you see the entire relationship. The betrayal itself is bad enough, but the shockwave comes from the realization that you were unknowingly part of a carefully constructed performance, a show they ran while thinking they could outsmart your perception. And let's be honest, no one likes being outsmarted in their own life, especially by someone you trusted. There's a mix of horror, disbelief, and that tiny, sarcastic voice in your head whispering, "Seriously? Really?" What makes this so compelling, so gut-punching, is that a confession isn't just a reveal of actions. It's a reveal of character, timing, and intent. It shows who they really are when no one is watching, and it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about perception, trust, and your own ability to see clearly. The disgust, the shock, the sudden clarity, it's all part of the lesson. By the end of this, you're not just going to know what they did behind your back. You're going to understand why, how, and what that means for your life moving forward. Buckle up, because the truth isn't just coming out. It's coming at full force, and it's far more revealing than anyone ever admitted. Number 1, their confession was never about remorse. It was about control. When people finally confess the disgusting things they did behind your back, it's rarely because they suddenly grew a conscience. It's almost never about genuine remorse. It's about timing, power, and panic. A confession that comes out of nowhere is usually not an apology, it's a strategy. They confess because something in their world is slipping out of their hands, and they want to get ahead of the fallout before the truth exposes them on its own. Deep down, they know their actions can't stay hidden forever, so they rush to come clean in a way that still lets them spin the story in their favor. Their confession becomes a way to maintain control, even after losing the moral ground. They want to be the narrator, not the villain. They want to choose the version of the truth you hear, soften the ugliness, downplay the damage, and twist the intention. This way they still feel like they're one step ahead of you, even while admitting something they should have never done in the first place. It's manipulation disguised as honesty. And the truth is, if they truly felt remorse, you wouldn't have needed a confession at all. Remorse shows up in changed behavior, in silence, in accountability, in actions, not in delayed storytelling delivered only when they fear the consequences catching up. Confessions that happen under pressure are not confessions, they're survival tactics. When they finally speak up, listen closely, not to their words, but to the timing. Look at what they're trying to protect. People confess the truth only when the truth becomes too heavy to hide or too risky to maintain. They want to control how you see them, how you react, and whether you stay. They're trying to shape your feelings instead of facing the full reality of their choices. This is why their confession isn't the closure they think it is. It's a reflection of who they truly are. Someone who only reveals the truth when their ability to manipulate the situation is slipping through their fingers. Their remorse isn't real. Their control is. Number 2. They confessed only because their mask finally slipped beyond repair. People wear masks every day. They show the world the version of themselves they want others to see, carefully hiding the ugliness, the mistakes, the selfish decisions they make behind closed doors. But masks aren't permanent. Sooner or later cracks appear, and when the mask breaks, the truth bursts out whether they want it to or not. Their confession didn't come from courage or honesty. It came because the facade they spent so long maintaining finally failed. They realized the lie was no longer sustainable, and staying hidden would now cost them more than revealing the truth. What they revealed wasn't just a slip of the tongue or a moment of weakness. It was the consequence of living a lie too long. Every day, they had to balance two versions of themselves, the one you knew and the one they were secretly creating behind your back. That tension grows heavy, unbearable, and eventually it starts spilling over. Their carefully curated identity can't survive the weight of guilt, fear, and the reality that someone might discover them on their own. Confessing becomes a last-ditch effort to control the damage before it destroys them completely. They scramble to manage how you see them now, trying to turn their exposure into a story that doesn't make them look completely monstrous. But the truth is raw, unfiltered, and messy, and once the mask slips, there's no going back. What they hide in public can't survive private reckoning forever. Their confession is not about making amends, it's about self-preservation. It's about trying to salvage what remains of their reputation, their relationships, and their sense of power. They confess because the pretense has been exposed, and hiding any longer would be catastrophic. The mask breaking is the only reason you get the truth. Without that collapse, they would have kept lying indefinitely, quietly poisoning the situation while you remained in the dark. This is why their confession feels shocking and disgusting at the same time. It's not a revelation of moral awakening. It's the exposed failure of someone who can no longer hide who they truly are. The mask fell, and now you see the real face behind the lies. Number 3. Their disgusting behavior was a projection of their inferiority, not a reflection of your worth. When someone does something vile behind your back, it's easy to internalize it, to feel broken, small, or undeserving. But the harsh truth is that their actions rarely have anything to do with you. What they did, how they lied, how they betrayed, it all stems from a place inside them, a place of fear, insecurity, and inadequacy. Their disgust toward themselves, their envy of what you have or who you are, becomes an external force they project onto you. They attack, manipulate, or deceive, not because you invited it, but because they can't face the reflection of their own failures. People who betray in this way are often haunted by their shortcomings. They can't tolerate seeing someone else succeed, someone else thrive, or someone else carry a strength they lack. Instead of improving themselves or confronting their flaws, they choose to drag others down, to interfere, to sabotage. Their confession, their reveal, their truth is not an apology. It's the admission of their own inner rot. Every disgusting action they hid was a symptom of their struggle with inferiority, not evidence that you did something wrong or deserved this. This projection makes the betrayal feel personal, but it isn't. You become the canvas for their weaknesses, the target of their fears, the mirror in which they see their own inadequacy reflected. And the worst part is they will try to twist it, make it seem like you're at fault, make you question yourself, when in reality, nothing about you caused their behavior. The liberation comes when you realize this, when you understand that their betrayal is a reflection of their own sickness, not your value, The disgust shifts from self-directed to truth-directed. You see the full picture. Their confession exposes them, their actions expose them, and their failures are theirs alone. Your worth remains untarnished. The lesson isn't just survival, it's clarity. You can step away knowing the rot was never in you. It was never about you. It was all them. Number 4, their confession was a panic move to avoid the consequences they created. The moment someone confesses to something disgusting they did behind your back, it rarely comes from courage or conscience. It comes from panic. They didn't wake up one day and decide to be honest. They woke up realizing the walls were closing in, that the lies they had built could no longer protect them, and that the consequences they tried to avoid were inevitable. Confession in this context isn't about making things right. It's about self-preservation. They are trying to get ahead of the storm they themselves created. Every lie, every betrayal, every hidden action has a ticking clock. The longer it stays buried, the higher the chance it erupts in a way they can't control. That's when panic sets in. The confession is no longer a choice, it's a survival tactic. By confessing, they hope to soften the impact, to appear human, to salvage whatever remains of their reputation or relationships. But underneath it all, the motivation is fear, not remorse. They want to avoid the punishment, the confrontation, the exposure that they know is coming. When someone confesses out of panic, the truth they deliver is selective. They emphasize what makes them look less guilty, omit what makes them look worse, and carefully craft their words to maintain some level of control. They're not thinking about how it affects you, they're thinking about how it affects them. They want to minimize the damage to themselves while still releasing just enough truth to appear honest. This is why confessions can feel both shocking and shallow. You feel the weight of the betrayal, but you also sense the desperation behind their words. They're not seeking forgiveness. They're buying time, reducing risk, and trying to keep a handle on a situation that they themselves caused. The panic is their driving force, and it exposes a raw, unsettling truth. When the consequences arrive, even the bravest-looking confession is often nothing more than a calculated act of self-defense. You're witnessing their scramble to survive, and the ugliness of their actions becomes even more apparent because it's all about them, never about righting the wrong. Number 5, they confessed because they underestimated your ability to thrive without them. When someone finally admits to what they did behind your back, it often isn't about guilt or honesty. It's about realization. They confess because somewhere along the line they miscalculated. They assumed you needed them more than you actually did. They believed their presence, their manipulation, or even their betrayal would keep you tethered to them, unable to move forward. But the truth is, your strength, clarity, and resilience were underestimated, and that misjudgment is what forces them to come clean. They counted on your compliance, your patience, or your trust to cover their tracks indefinitely. They assumed you would either never notice, never confront, or be too weak to act. For them, your potential wasn't a threat. It was invisible. But when they finally see that you are unshaken, that their deceit has not broken you, panic replaces arrogance. They realize that you can thrive, succeed, and move on without them, and that's when the confession happens. It's not an apology. It's a desperate attempt to reclaim relevance in a life they can no longer control. The timing of such confessions is telling. They only emerge when it becomes clear that their leverage is gone. They see that your world isn't collapsing without them, and suddenly the power dynamic they counted on is reversed. They confess because the illusion of influence they built over you has shattered, and admitting the truth becomes a last effort to regain a foothold before complete irrelevance. The realization that you can thrive without their interference terrifies them because it exposes their weakness. It proves that their deceit was only ever effective as long as you remained unaware, dependent, or misled. Your ability to stand firm, to grow, and to rise above their betrayal robs them of control, and it's this threat, the undeniable proof of your independence, that forces them to finally reveal what they did. In the end, their confession is not a gift or a gesture of conscience. It's an admission of their failed calculation, a desperate attempt to salvage what little influence they imagined they had. They underestimated you, and now they're paying the price of their own misjudgment. Number 6. The disgusting act was never the real betrayal. The real betrayal was how long they pretended to love you while doing it. When someone does something horrific behind your back, it's natural to focus on the act itself. The lies, the deception, the secret betrayals, they sting, they shock, they make your blood boil. But the real poison isn't in the act, it's in the performance that surrounded it. The true betrayal is how long they were able to pretend, how convincingly they wore the mask of love, trust, and care, while quietly undermining everything you believed about them. That's what cuts deeper than the action. It's the betrayal of time, of attention, of faith invested in someone who was quietly building a web of deceit. For months, maybe years, they acted like your supporter, your partner, your confidant, all while hiding the truth of what they were doing. They smiled, they comforted, they promised, they reassured, all with one hand while the other was doing something contemptible. That duplicity, the ability to maintain a false image while knowing the damage being done, is far more destructive than the act itself. It's not the moment of wrongdoing that defines betrayal. It's the prolonged performance that makes it personal, intimate, and inescapably painful. The betrayal is measured in time spent believing in them, in the trust extended, in the security felt in their presence. That's why it feels almost unbearable. You were not just lied to, you were made to participate in the illusion of their love. You invested emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically, all under false pretenses. That is the real crime, the slow, calculated dismantling of your perception of them while pretending to be the person you thought you knew. Their confession does not erase this. It doesn't undo the trust stolen or the moments tainted by their deceit. The act was bad, yes, but the betrayal lies in the pretense, the calculated maintenance of a lie that made you vulnerable, trusting, and blind to their true intentions. The horror is not only in what they did, but in how long they made you believe it didn't exist. That is the wound that lingers long after the act itself is revealed. Number 7. Their confession was a strategic attempt to re-enter your life through honesty. When someone admits to what they did behind your back, it rarely comes from a place of guilt or self-reflection. More often than not, it's a calculated move designed to manipulate, to regain access to your life under the guise of honesty. The confession is their way of planting a foothold, a subtle claim that says, "I'm telling the truth now, so you should let me back in." It's a strategy, not an apology. They know the power of vulnerability, and they use it as a tool to try to rebuild influence they lost or never truly had in the first place. This type of confession is dangerous because it comes wrapped in the language of sincerity. They speak with just enough remorse to make you question your own judgment, just enough honesty to make you feel like they are trying to make amends. But underneath, it's still a form of control. They are testing the waters, observing how you respond, and calculating how much they can reintroduce themselves into your life without facing full accountability. Every word is chosen not to heal, but to manipulate perception. What makes it worse is that it can prey on your empathy. Even if you've been hurt, Part of you may want to believe in change, to forgive, to let someone redeem themselves. That hope is exactly what they are counting on. They are banking on the idea that you will allow them back into your mental, emotional, or even physical space, because their honesty feels like an olive branch, when really it's a trap to regain relevance and power. The key to seeing through this is to understand their timing. Confessions meant to manipulate are rarely spontaneous. They appear when they sense you moving on, when they feel distant, when their access to your life is threatened. They are not confessing for you, they are confessing for themselves. Recognizing this makes it clear that their honesty is not about making things right. It's about reclaiming control, rewriting the narrative, and slipping back into your world under the illusion of redemption. Number 8. They didn't come clean, they came convenient. A confession that surfaces at the perfect moment rarely comes from honesty or moral awakening. It comes from convenience. People don't reveal what they did behind your back because they suddenly care about truth or fairness. They reveal it because it benefits them to do so. Timing is everything for them. The truth is only shared when the risk of keeping it hidden outweighs the benefit of continuing the lie. That's the cruel reality. Their honesty isn't about righting a wrong. It's about protecting themselves when the walls of secrecy start closing in. This kind of confession is a carefully calculated act. They wait until they sense that keeping the secret is no longer sustainable. Maybe they feel your suspicion. Maybe someone else has uncovered a piece of the puzzle, or maybe the pressure of maintaining their facade is finally unbearable. When that moment comes, they reveal just enough to control how you perceive the situation, to soften the impact, or to cast themselves in a better light. It's about minimizing their fallout, not about acknowledging the pain they caused. Convenient confessions often feel sudden and shocking, like a bomb dropped into your life. They catch you off guard, not because the truth is a surprise, but because you didn't expect them to act in a way that serves their agenda rather than addressing the harm. They may show regret, speak with a hint of vulnerability, or emphasize parts of the story that make them seem less guilty. But every word is filtered through the lens of convenience. The danger of this is that it manipulates perception. You may feel relief, forgiveness, or understanding because the truth is out, but you have to see past the timing. They came clean, not because it was the right thing to do, but because it was the smart thing for them. The confession exists to protect them, not to honor the relationship, the trust, or the consequences of their actions. Recognizing this shifts the power back to you, showing that their truth is not a gift, it's a transaction, and you were never the priority. Number 9. Their behavior behind your back revealed the identity they hid even from themselves. When someone does something terrible behind your back, it's easy to think the betrayal only exposes their deceit toward you. But the deeper, far more unsettling truth is that it often reveals who they really are, sometimes in ways even they haven't admitted to themselves. People can spend years constructing an identity, a version of themselves that looks admirable, trustworthy, or loving. They perform this version daily, convincing others and at times themselves that they are upright and worthy. But their hidden actions, the disgusting things done in secret, are the cracks in that facade, showing a side of them that is raw, selfish, and unfiltered. The confession forces a reckoning not just for you, but for them. It exposes traits they tried to suppress, instincts they denied, and moral compromises they ignored. When someone finally admits to their hidden actions, it's like peeling back layers to reveal a version of them that was always there, lurking beneath the mask, waiting for an opportunity to surface. This is the side of them that prioritizes self-interest over loyalty, fear over integrity, and gratification over conscience. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't hide it forever, because actions speak louder than the persona they project. What makes this particularly disturbing is that it challenges the narrative they've sold to everyone, including themselves. Their confession isn't just about what they did to you, it's a mirror showing the parts of their character they refuse to face. It's the first time the hidden truth aligns with reality, exposing motivations, fears, and desires that were buried under lies, charm, or manipulation. For you, witnessing this can be jarring. The person you thought you knew, trusted, or loved is suddenly revealed in their entirety. But this revelation is also liberating. It clarifies that their identity was never compatible with honesty or respect. You see the full picture. The mask they wore was never them, and the person who acted behind your back was the truest version of who they are. Recognizing this separates your judgment from emotion, showing that their deceit was not just an act against you, it was a glimpse into their unacknowledged authentic self. Number 10. The disgust you feel isn't bitterness, it's clarity. When someone finally confesses what they did behind your back, the wave of disgust that hits you isn't just anger or bitterness, it's clarity. It's the moment your intuition, your suspicions, and all the subtle red flags you ignored come together into one undeniable truth. The feeling is sharp, uncomfortable, and unavoidable, but it's not weakness, it's insight. It's your mind and spirit recognizing exactly who this person is and what they are capable of. This disgust is your inner compass recalibrating, finally aligning perception with reality after being clouded by hope, trust, or denial. What many people mistake for lingering bitterness is actually a sign that you now see without illusions. It's the understanding that what they did is irreparable, and that the person you thought you knew was only a version they carefully manufactured. You can't unsee it, and you shouldn't want to. That revulsion is the proof that your boundaries, instincts, and sense of self are intact. It's not about punishing them mentally, it's about acknowledging the truth they tried to hide from you, and crucially, from themselves. The clarity comes in layers. First, you see the act itself for what it is, selfish, manipulative, or cruel. Then, you recognize the patterns leading up to it, the lies, the inconsistencies, the small betrayals that hinted at the larger truth. Finally, you see yourself in relation to it, how you allowed trust, empathy, or hope to blind you, and how you can move forward without repeating the same mistakes. That disgust is the signal that your perception has matured. It separates the person from the illusion, the truth from the narrative they spun to keep you tethered. This clarity is liberating. It turns a moment of horror into a lesson of discernment. The disgust is not an anchor, it's a lighthouse. It warns you, guides you, and allows you to act with informed detachment. It's proof that you survived their deception with your mind and spirit unbroken. You are not bitter. You are awake, aware, and finally seeing the full picture with unflinching honesty. Number 11. Their confession exposed. How threatened they were by your potential. When someone confesses to doing something vile behind your back, the act itself is shocking, but the underlying truth is even more revealing. Their confession often exposes the fear they harbored, not fear of losing you, not fear of being caught, but fear of your potential. They were threatened by your strength, your clarity, and the possibility that you could grow beyond their influence. What they did behind your back wasn't just selfish or cruel, it was a preemptive strike against the version of you they knew could surpass them, leave them behind, or expose them entirely. This fear is telling because it shows that their actions were never random. Every lie, every manipulation, every hidden move was designed to contain, control, or limit you. They acted not just to gain something for themselves, but to keep you from realizing your own power. Their confession is a bitter acknowledgement of this threat. They admit wrongdoing not because they care about the harm they caused, but because their efforts to suppress your potential are failing. They realize that no amount of deceit can stop you from rising, and that realization forces them to finally show their hand. Understanding this flips the narrative. The betrayal is no longer just about what they did, it's about what they feared in you. Every action behind your back was a reaction to your possibilities, a defensive move against your growth. They were desperate to control a reality they couldn't bear, a version of you stronger, wiser, and unbound by their influence. The clarity this brings is powerful. Their confession becomes a roadmap of their insecurities and a mirror reflecting your own resilience. You see that their malice was fueled by fear of what you could achieve, not by anything lacking in you. And that makes their exposure less about shame for them and more about triumph for you. Their confession doesn't weaken you. It confirms that your potential was, and always will be, too great for anyone to contain. Number 12. The truth. They had revealed who they thought you were, someone weak enough to be played. When someone does something behind your back, the most disturbing part isn't always the act itself, it's what it says about how they viewed you while doing it. Their behavior, and ultimately their confession, exposes the version of you they assumed existed, someone pliable, trusting, unaware, someone they could manipulate without consequence. They treated you as a target, a project, or a means to satisfy their selfish desires, believing you lacked the awareness, strength, or intuition to see through their lies. That is the real betrayal. Their perception of your weakness shaped their actions long before the confession ever came. This realization is brutal because it forces you to see that their betrayal was a reflection of their assumptions, not your reality. They acted under the illusion that you would accept deception as part of your relationship with them. They expected silence, compliance, or confusion in response. Their confidence in hiding the truth came from underestimating your discernment, underestimating your ability to recognize the patterns and the warning signs they left behind. Every calculated move, every hidden step, was fueled by the arrogance of thinking you were too weak, too naive, or too loyal to challenge them. When they finally confess, it's not because they suddenly respected your strength, it's because their gamble failed. Their assumptions were wrong. You were never the person they imagined you to be, and the moment they recognized that, panic or strategy forced the truth out. Their confession becomes a window into their misjudgment, exposing not just their actions, but their flawed understanding of who you are. This makes the betrayal paradoxically empowering. The horror of what they did is tempered by the realization that you are stronger, smarter, and more aware than they gave you credit for. Their deception only reveals your resilience. They acted against someone they believed could be easily manipulated, and in that miscalculation lies your power. Their confession is not an apology. It's an admission that you are nothing like the target they thought they could control. Number 13. Their betrayal wasn't an accident. It was a calculated expression of who they really are. When someone does something shocking behind your back, it's natural to want to believe it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, or a momentary weakness. The truth is far harsher. Their betrayal wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate reflection of their true character, a calculated expression of who they are at their core. Every hidden action, every lie, every deception was an intentional choice, a conscious step down a path they freely chose while expecting you to remain unaware. The betrayal exposes a side of them they could never safely show while you were watching, a side that operates in selfishness, fear, and disregard for others. Understanding this is both shocking and clarifying. People often spend years creating a persona they want the world to admire, trustworthy, caring, and loyal. But behind closed doors, When consequences are hidden and oversight is absent, their authentic self emerges. Their actions reveal priorities, values, and impulses that are impossible to ignore once exposed. This is why confessions of betrayal carry a weight that no excuse can erase. The person you thought you knew is not the person who acted. Their choices were intentional, and their true character, revealed through their actions, cannot be undone or softened by words. The deliberate nature of betrayal also forces a shift in perspective. It's no longer a question of what went wrong, or if it was just a momentary lapse. It's a recognition of patterns, tendencies, and behaviors that define them. What they did was consistent with who they are, even if it was hidden from view. Their confession may come cloaked in remorse or regret, but underneath it is a stark acknowledgement that their actions were an authentic reflection of themselves. This realization is empowering. It allows you to stop questioning yourself, to stop rationalizing their behavior, and to finally see them for who they are. Their betrayal is not a fluke or an accident. It is a window into their reality. Recognizing this means understanding that the problem was never your trust, patience, or loyalty. It was the true nature of the person you allowed close to your life. Number 14. The confession wasn't a closing chapter. It was your evidence to walk away with zero doubt. When someone finally confesses to what they did behind your back, it's easy to expect closure, to think that hearing the truth will somehow heal the wound or mend the trust broken. But the truth is far more powerful than that. Their confession isn't a closing chapter. It's your proof, your undeniable evidence that the person you trusted was never aligned with honesty, loyalty, or respect. It's the confirmation you needed to stop questioning yourself, to stop wondering if you imagined the warning signs, and to walk away with absolute certainty. The beauty of this confession lies in its clarity. Every word they speak, every admission, every tiny detail they reveal removes ambiguity. You no longer have to debate what really happened behind your back or justify your feelings of betrayal. The confession crystallizes the reality. They acted against you intentionally, and their character was never what you believed it to be. It transforms doubt into certainty, allowing you to leave without guilt, without hesitation, and without the need for permission. This is why their confession, as painful as it is empowering. It arms you with truth. It turns a situation that could have haunted you into a stepping stone. Instead of clinging to hope that they will change or wishing things were different, you have the proof that change would not align with who they truly are. The confession doesn't offer reconciliation. It offers liberation. It signals that your responsibility is not to salvage what they broke, but to preserve yourself and your future. Walking away becomes an act of clarity, not reaction. You are no longer trapped in uncertainty or emotional manipulation. Their words, their actions, their betrayal, all of it is your evidence. It confirms what your instincts may have already whispered, that the trust is irreparable and that your life moves forward without them. The confession, then, is not the end for them. It is the beginning of your freedom. It is the undeniable proof you need to leave fully, confidently, and with zero doubt. Conclusion. Betrayal is never simple, and the truth behind it is rarely neat. When someone confesses to what they did behind your back, it's not about remorse, closure, or fairness. It's about control, fear, and the reflection of who they truly are. Each act, each lie, and each hidden choice reveals more about them than it ever could about you. Their confession exposes their insecurities, their misjudgments, and their inability to face their own flaws, while simultaneously illuminating your strength, resilience, and clarity. It strips away illusions, confronts the reality of their character, and hands you the ultimate gift, evidence to see them as they truly are, and the freedom to walk away without hesitation. The beauty in this painful revelation is that it turns what could have been a lifelong wound into a lesson in discernment. You are reminded that their actions were never a reflection of your worth, but a mirror of their limitations. Their deception, their fear of your potential, and their false perception of you as weak, all of it becomes a roadmap, not of your failure, but of your awakening. The disgust you feel is not bitterness, it is clarity. The shock and pain are not setbacks, they are confirmations of your insight and resilience. Every confession, every hidden act, every late revelation points to one undeniable truth. You deserve honesty, integrity, and respect, and their betrayal only proves that their presence in your life was never meant to serve those values. So, take this truth, hold it, and move forward with confidence. Let their confession be the evidence that frees you, not the chain that binds you. Learn, grow, and step into the next chapter of your life, knowing that you are stronger than the people who tried to undermine you in secret. Your power lies in clarity, in awareness, and in refusing to let someone else define your worth. If this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep, eye-opening insights. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to see the truth. They deserve clarity too. Stay awakened, chosen ones.